Hi everyone, my name is Godman Akinlabi, and it's such a pleasure to be able to bring you into a discussion today. I am so fortunate to have some very important people around me, and it's a very wonderful opportunity again to bring you to that space where you can learn one or two things that will help you to find your voice even at this time. Things are changing rapidly all around us, and you need to position for the things that can help you to keep your head above the water, even in the time that other people are drowning and are overwhelmed. Whatever part of the world you live in, the narratives are becoming the same. Inflation, unrest, bad governance, businesses are going down, energy price skyrocketing in different parts of the world. One or two of these may apply to you, and it affects the space where you work. But there are many things that are working well, and many things are also creating some kind of uncertainty, like what's happening in tech, AI, machine learning, robotics. Are they going to take our jobs? Are we going to be okay? Are we going to be marrying robots? And things like that. Many things are happening, both in the career space and in our social life, and how we forge ahead. Whatever persuasion you have in terms of faith, you are not excluded. All of us are in the same box, and we need to really position ourselves with requisite knowledge and understanding that will help us to thrive in this season. So today, I have someone that I met not too long ago, but I'm coming to like her. She's called Miss Techy. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
And she's found her voice in the tech space. Yemi, she's found her voice in the tech space. I also have around me today a man I love to listen to. I've listened to him once or twice before in other events. Yemi Faseun.
Yemi, nice to meet you.
Yemi is in the HR space, and looking into how people sustain jobs, how they get jobs, how they position themselves for opportunities that are in the horizon. And I also have Mrs. Kunbi Adeoti, who I've known for longest out of people that I have with me here today. She's a friend, she's a prodigy, she's everything, and she's a deep thinker and very, very mature in her disposition to life, and that's what I love about her. She's built a career also in human capital development, in HR consulting, and she works for a big organization here in Nigeria, where she leads the human capital development and talent management aspect of the business. All right, so guys, thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you.
Let's just dive into it. So if I start with Ms. Techy, Toby, what are your thoughts on how people should be thinking about the advancement that we're having in tech right now? And I just wanted to, for the want of a better word, if you can be without being philosophical, but being futuristic.
Yeah.
You understand? And just being able to tell, I mean, you are young yourself, but being able to tell both young people and middle-aged people who are still actively engaged, our active workforce who seem to be a bit disturbed about tech advancement. How should we be processing it? What kind of emotions should we be using to engage? Should we be afraid? Should we be petrified? Should we be happy? Should we be, is it mixed feeling? What should be the emotion?
To be very honest with you, at one point I was scared with the advancement, but I don't think fear is what we should use to look at this. Instead of using fear to set the narrative, what we should do instead is try to be abreast of whatever is happening, because I've realized that knowledge is power in whatever we are doing, especially in the tech field. The more you know, the more you can control, right? And this is what AI, I mean, the other day I saw a video where you can literally use a prompt to create a video from scratch, meaning that chances are video editors might lose their job in the forthcoming months. But if you have that, if you use that knowledge to look at things, then you would always be behind. Rather than saying, oh, I'm scared AI might take my job, how about looking at it from how did they do this so that I can take control and also create something from AI and imagine creating a company and you are using AI to solve problems as well. So being abreast of the situation is what the outlook I would like young people to look out, rather than wasting time on social media, finding out things, how are they able to do this? Especially in this part of the world, I've realized that when it comes to tech, Nigerians are not taking are not at the forefront. We are just using tech. We are not doing more of creation. So if we can get more young minds that are creating even AI, have you realized that ChatGPT, for example, yes, it can speak pidgin, but it's not, imagine if a Nigerian were to create it for us. Right? So I don't think fear is the approach that we need to use to look at the advancement in tech.
So what you're saying, Toby, is that we should see it from an empowerment mindset point of view.
That's the perfect word
that this is coming to empower us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how do you embrace a phenomenon that is built around empowerment? Kunbi, I want you to just jump in on that. This is a free flow. We're discussing tech. You are a leader in the HR industry around here, and you deal with people who want to, offer value, who want to upskill, who want to make themselves relevant in the workspace, and you work in progressively developing organizations as well, who are looking for such kind of people. So you have tools and people, and it looks like the tools are growing faster than the people. So people are grappling with those tools now with a bit of fear and becoming emotional. And also, like we started, also with the fear that the tool itself maybe can operate itself with time.
Yeah.
And then we won't need you again. Yeah. So,
thank you, PJ, and thank you, Toby. I would start by saying that AI is not necessarily going to take your job, but it will take the job of the person who is unable to use AI.
Exactly.
And what did we do? I mean, I'll give my organization as an example. I chose last year to collaborate with AI Nigeria. There's a team of guys who came into Nigeria. They're out of Nigeria, and one of them is actually working with ChatGPT. Nice. And one of the things we realize is that if you're using ChatGPT, for example, basic things, I want to create a job description, and I put it that I want to do this. It can turn it around, but it may not turn it around enough until the concept you use, the prompts that I give. Sure. The question is, how do you then create such prompts to get the kind of value? That is beginning to empower me, for example, in the HR space. Now, what did we do? We realized that this thing, especially with people, the fear of AI taking their job, the lack of understanding, and the concept of how do I empower you, especially when you're looking at organizations create strategy. Yeah. That strategy to take you into the future has a whole lot around technology embedded in it. And for people not to be afraid of what it should be, is we need to retrain the people. The concept of retooling the workforce comes into play. If I retool them, then I have empowered them to be able to deliver on the strategy of the organization. So what do? It starts from basic knowledge sharing. We brought in these guys and say, let's have like a town hall concept. Let's even hear it. And you're absolutely correct. Those prompts, I mean, in seconds, we created adverts. In seconds, we built many things. But how do you then enable people to see? We started to talk about the concept of ethics, the concept of creating these prompts, and the many things and the technology, the handshake between bots, the machine learning, and how to create our own, because there's also the concept of bias. So, I mean, I tried it for one or two things. When you ask certain questions that are very localized, it's not able to give you a proper response. In fact, I remember asking questions in Yoruba language, and the responses I got, and I had to correct it. So the question is to empower, we have to engage, like Toby said.
Exactly.
And the more you engage the tool, the more the tool becomes intelligent into our local concept. We also have to teach people about biases and how those biases, if care is not taken, could come against us or could work for us.
True.
And so it is until you create these platforms. So we started with basic knowledge sharing. Then we went on to bringing into the technicalities where people can then practically build prompts and see how they can use it in their respective roles, job capabilities, in how to deliver those job capabilities. And as people saw it, perspectives started to change. And they saw how they are empowered to deal more on it. So from all I'm saying, bottom line is to empower people, we all have to engage into it. And I'm not thinking it's just the organization. Interestingly, one of the questions that came for our team during the mainline session was more around what is our government doing to invest in this. I think we can begin to push new levels of collaboration, even from government levels, to begin to look at investments in all these technologies. I understand that Dubai, for example, it's been deliberate from classroom level, different layers of leadership and the workforce. And so the more we train our people, the more we put investment into it, the more we drive that culture, we realize that suddenly we're empowering the people, we're empowering businesses, the SMEs, the MSMEs, everyone becomes empowered. And what Toby mentioned, we start to have people who then begin to build in country to our specific needs.
So I love your drift, Kunbi, and I love the way you started from just talking about how it affects individuals, and then eventually talking about how your own organization created like some kind of ecosystem of the players where we can listen to each other. The end users, the creators, everybody could plug in and then see, okay, this is what is in need for you, and this is how it enhances your job. And then you started talking about government, and all that. Well, that we'll park on one side for another day. Because the average person listening to this, especially around Africa and the other parts of the third world, you say, the government has. They have a lot on their hands. I mean, when you talk about Dubai, maybe they have little issues they're dealing with, so they can easily dive into it. And I'm not holding breath for the government. I'm just saying that I think if we want to gain speed, the private sector has to just take charge.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, though in most developing countries, the government is the highest employer of labor, then followed by the private sector, and then MSMEs and all that, and was supposed to turn this thing around, while the SMEs and MSMEs should be the highest employer of labor at certain point, and then the corporates, and then government should be at the other end. So, but what I'm saying that is that it actually affects the MSMEs, the SMEs, the corporates more, because government work is called bureaucracy. It's just stacked layers and all that. They should improve. I'm not saying they should not. But for the average young company, you want to quickly grow it and scale and get some stability, and then, and all that. You need all these tools, and you need your people to be able to use them. So, Yemi, I wanted to speak to the place of the MSMEs, the smaller organizations, young entrepreneurs with 20, 30, 50 employees, and they need to move fast. Sometimes it looks like their employees are slowing them down because of lack of capacity to engage technology and use the right tools to work. Part of what slows things down in developing countries is either the inavailability of tools, or outdated tools, or people not being able to engage the right tools. So generally when we talk about mindset, tool set, and all that, generally skill set, you know, with I mean, especially you HR people, you talk about chemistry, character. You just, you know, you want to interview people, they must have this, have that. But the truth is that the average young person just looking at you and like, where am I going to get it from? What are you talking? The environment itself reduces my capacity to scale up. I mean, to upskill at a certain level. The tools are not there. Thank God for technology today, YouTube, everywhere. I mean, digital space. It makes a lot of tools available for young people. If you get on Instagram today, somebody's talking about how you can beat the algorithm, how you can do this, how you can. I mean, there are all kinds of short videos, you know. So, but generally speaking, for a young startup, from human capital development point of view and talent management point of view, for young startups, for smaller companies, how should they be thinking?
I think they should be thinking differently, PG. I always use the example of the calculator. If I tell you now, PG, to do 723 times 394, you know, before now, or before the advent of the calculator, you'll have to get a piece of paper and do it manually. You calculate, but once the calculator came into existence, it became in seconds. And people thought, oh, the calculator will take our brain away and make our brains redundant, will become less intelligent. But absolutely not. We have used that same calculator in various other ways since the advent of the simple calculator. And that is solving business problems faster than it was in prior years. If you go to some places, I think even around the Ikeja High Court, you still see stenographers. You still see typewriters. Those guys are outdated. They've become dinosaurs just because they didn't change with the times. Now, Toby said something about technology for young people. The same technology that we use data to follow many people for entertainment and sports and dopamine. The same technology, data plus device, can be used to be on Coursera, to be on LinkedIn Learning, and so many free courses to develop ourselves. So I think the concept of self-development needs to be reintroduced into the workplace of today. Technology is allowing us to, instead of us being at the cutting edge of using it to solve problems, we are just using a bit of social media to fix ourselves in terms of dopamine. So we need to go back to that, the basic things around self-development. The opportunities are there. Sincerely, if I give you an example of myself, I did HR for about 24, 25 years. And then about November 2021, I literally have rolled off HR into leadership. And the things that I teach around leadership have been totally self-taught in the last 6 years. So I saw one of the videos. I did tell her before we started, and I use it to teach things around life, leadership, career. Some other person will be looking for videos for pure entertainment. So we need to reintroduce that concept of the organization will not send you on all the training you want to do. Nobody has the resources financially anymore. Nobody has the time anymore. So I'm saying that individuals, employees in the workplace or in business or in whatever enterprise or endeavor, we need to take the power back to ourselves for self-development. Startups, this is my opinion, the guys are so adept at raising funds, but not many of them are good at raising people and raising organizations. Again, leadership is a problem. And you know, PG, many startups are failing today. They've raised $4 million, they've raised $10 million, second seed, first seed. But if you go check, as of this morning, another organization failed that I read about. And these guys were doing very well in the last 2, 3, 4 years. So what has happened? Number one, the individual, the founders themselves, they need to be in the space of, if not technical development, at least leadership development. And then number two, let's not focus too much on scale. Scale up the business, of course, so that I can repay back the fund. But for us to scale, we need to use technology first to be ready to advance in different areas within the business. And this is my opinion again. I've found out that many startups are always looking to cut corners. Rather than get an HR manager or head of HR, they will go get somebody who left school 1 year ago, 1 year post NYC and they make them HR managers. And it's not working for them. It's not working for the business. The quality of advisory isn't top notch, and then the business doesn't scale.
Yeah, I think it's still the issue of lean budgets and all that.
So
like,
I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I agree with both of you. I want to say that yes, the budget is part of the issue, but one of the things I would like to advise them is, look, can you mine your network for the subject matter experts who are your friends, who can then enable you, even if you can't pay now, if it means some form of share concept, virtual virtual shares as it is right now, because you can see the potential of that organization so that you can then support in the interim as it were. I think the other thing I wanted to mention in that space, Yemi, is the fact of psychological safety that can drive disruption.
Correct.
Most business owners that I have seen at that level are not able to provide that psychological safety even for the staff that they have. And what do I mean? Some of these younger generation people have the idea, they know how to mine that technology or work around it at the minimal use for that business. But the concept of the owner creating that environment for them to be able to use it doesn't exist. It's always my business, I know it, this is what I have built the funds for. And so you find the concept of ego, which incidentally, Dr. Obeche actually mentioned in the course of the conversation, that there's the time for bring in, let's sit down, what can you do, what capabilities, where can we get those free software, because they know how to mine that in that space of Instagram and whatever of the social media. They know how to get even those technologies that you can use. I mean, I know one or two people who had to use free of these tools a bit just to move the business, scale it forward. But he was only able to do that because he created that psychological safety that enabled those youngsters to be able to do it. And it's one of those things that we really need to look at.
Yeah, so talking about psychological safety, I agree with you, but I will also say that it's a bit, maybe a little bit debatable. And the reason why I'm saying that is that some startup leaders want to really do that. But the youngsters that join some of these organizations have a very high expectation.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
So because you heard a company just got funded $1 million, $2 million, you want to come in and you assume that you just got a job with Microsoft. You just
that dream employee concept.
Yes, so you just have a nice expectation of them. I mean, a young person, going back to what Yemi said, a young person who got a fantastic idea and then built this idea maybe into a tech startup or fintech or whatever, himself doesn't have any strong training in leadership.
There you go.
Yeah. So he's just a technical person.
Correct.
And as a technical person, there's a point you get into in your career that if you stay technical, you can't scale anything. Because in scaling, you need more people. Wow. And that's where your leadership skills actually gets in. Relationship, managing people, emotional intelligence, and all that. Most nerds don't have emotional intelligence.
No.
True.
And we depend on them for innovations. Right. You understand? Because of the personality type. You understand? At the end of the day, they struggle to get other people to lead the business while they stay on the back end of tech and technical things and what they know. So everything, so when you talk about psychological safety, who is going to create it?
You can't give what you don't have.
You can't give what you don't have.
Yep.
So generally speaking, I think we should come to that point where we say for our SMEs and MSMEs, especially the tech ones, and who are predisposed to getting funding and support here and there, I think there's a need to create this kind of a supportive ecosystem amongst the HR, human capital development, leadership development space to really be able to help them, because a lot of them, those companies are failing because of inadequate coaching, advisory support, mentoring, and stuff like that. As we start to wrap up, I want Ms. Techy to say something to what we're just saying. I mean, I'm sure you have a number of them as friends, and you may also have played in that space before.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
To be very honest, you hit the nail on the head with what you said, PJ, because even for me, when I started my business, I was coming from the technicality. Oh, I know how to edit, I know how to shoot videos, and I completely messed up my business relationship because I didn't understand that side of the business. So as much as we can outsource, and even if we can have fun. So my own problem back then was, oh, why should I get somebody to undo communications? It's an email, I can easily reply, right? But now coming from that point, or in hindsight, imagine if I had gotten my brother to undo that. And which is why we said, I agree with what you said about, reaching out to friends and giving them a sort of, I think it plays a major role. And if a lot of startup founders can look at different experiences and then decide that, you know what, I'm not going to be like the metrics, I'm going to do things differently this time around. I think it will change the narrative, especially in our space. We have less failed startups and more startups that are thriving and doing so well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take your own comments on that as well.
For me, both of you've kind of summarized it. Everything for me rises and falls on leadership. So if they can't get leadership right, then they can't get psychological safety right. There was a horrible bossy saga recently on Twitter before it changed to X. It was horrible, really horrible. Yeah. Names were mentioned of individuals, names were mentioned of organizations.
I hope my name was not.
No, your name wasn't there. But the point is, again, the current generation, the guys are so impatient, they will drag anyone. But we need to break that leadership down. It's a lot. And that's why a program like this is quite instructive for me. It's an opportunity. I mean, there's so many businesses when we were going through the exhibition stands, and I was looking at them from that perspective. Honestly, how long will they survive? Some of them may have raised funds, they may have put plans together, but if you're not putting people together and growing, nurturing, developing, leading with emotional intelligence, leading with trust, leading with humility, empathy, if you're not doing all of that, the business always gives you time. And then like, I think it was Apostle say, or Dr. Obeche, the business will fire you because the business will fail. So back to the basics, leadership is extremely important for small businesses and MSMEs.
Kunbi, final word.
Okay, so there's this concept in leadership about vulnerability.
Right.
And I think it's something that we all need to start to take a look at differently. Vulnerability is not necessarily weakness. It's your acceptance of saying, I am not a subject matter expert in this area and I need support. And until we get to that point where you can then leverage on that support and get all that you require, including that leadership. Who has it? Who can enhance it? Who can be my coach? Who can be my mentor? Who can help me with this skill that I require? And it is that level that you can say to yourself, I choose to be vulnerable, not because I am weak, but because I need this to scale up to that next phase. And that is what I want to put out there. Let's get to that point where we can be truthful to ourselves and we get the help that we require.
Fantastic. So that's vulnerability that Kunbi is speaking to right there. It's important for all of us to value vulnerability. No man is an island, and we're not born with complete skill set for all issues of life. And we whether you're starting a small business, a tech startup, you're in entertainment, you're a lawyer, you can be fantastic in one area of life and you can be a disaster in other areas, areas of life. And that's why you need to be vulnerable enough to acknowledge the places where you need support. So to all of our entrepreneurs out there, leaders and owners of MSMEs, SMEs, corporate leaders even, who have built something big and you want it to outlive you, you just need to know that at some point you need to overcome your own personal insecurity to be able to embrace your vulnerability and be willing to listen to other people, be willing to help your people upskill, be willing to embrace technology and step aside when you have become technophobic, if I can say that, and allow new leaders who love technology, who are technophilia, to just take over and run things and move what you have built to another level. Yeah, I hope you've been able to pick one or two words of wisdom and encouragement from this. Is Find Your Voice with Godman Akinlabi on the sideline of Vantage Forum at our Accelerate Conference 2024. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.